Welcome, High Vibe humans. You are listening to the Golden Guyan Adventure podcast. Hey, all you High Vibe humans, Breezy here, and welcome to the second episode of the Golden Guyan Hour. This is only the beginning, so it's only episode 2, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you High Vibe humans. This show, this hour, this moment we have together has a mission to assist us in raising the vibration of Earth and to deepen our understanding of our multidimensional self. In a scientific and spiritual way, we're spreading our wings and we're aiming higher because we're going to soar high, just like the angels. So welcome. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, let's get started. First, I would like to shout out the Crystal Chalice Awards, which happened on October 21st. I was able to attend them this year, and it was the third annual Crystal Chalice Awards. And I was nominated for Guide of the Year, and I won. So I'm very honored and blessed, and I would really like to extend a thank you to Shannon and CeeLo for their hard work and for putting together an event that really honors people who often go unseen or unappreciated. And I really appreciate them really acknowledging the work that healers do, that musicians do, that artists do. And I'm excited to nominate people for the next Crystal Chalice Awards. And I really want to say thank you to Cumberland for being warm and welcoming hosts. It's truly a beautiful town. And it was my first time spending more than one night in Maryland. And I was really honored and blessed to be among other high vibe humans. And that's who I got to meet at the Crystal Chalice Awards, other high vibe humans who are working so hard to raise consciousness and change the world every day. And I got to mingle with the best of the best, so to speak, in my opinion. And I really want to show gratitude and appreciation for those moments. And thank you, listeners, for your support, for contributing your energy and your time into making the Crystal Chalice Awards a success. Maybe you nominated somebody, or maybe you're thinking about nominating someone. Thank you for your support as we continue on this Golden Guyan adventure. Now, some of you might not know, maybe you're new listeners, or maybe you just stumbled upon this radio station, and you're wondering, what's the Golden Guyan adventure? Well, the Golden Guyan adventure, we'll break it down. Golden, meaning golden, creative, positive, life force energy. It brings abundance, it brings joy. And a Guyan is someone who lives on Gaia, who lives on Earth. And normally with Gaians, I'm referring to humans, but it also includes animals as well, the creatures that live on Gaia. And an adventure is how I would describe life. Life is an adventure. We're traveling across this plane, this physical plane, in a physical body, and we're making meaning of our experiences. Where I believe that we ascribe meaning to our experiences, to our things, to our memories. And we're really creating this life. And I think it should be viewed as an adventure. So welcome to the Golden Guyan Hour, in which we spend some time together on this adventure that we call life. On our last show, we talked about action and gave a general energy reading for the fall season. I put up an intention video in September about change and how there are several steps to change. And I went through and defined them, and one of them is action. This show was created in the spirit of never giving up the fight. And existence on this 3D physical plane can be, kind of a drag. It can be boring, it can be intense, it can be dramatic, and it can be traumatic. So oftentimes we're reminded that it can be a drag. In the words of the Buddha, life is suffering. In the words of Breezy, the key is to never give up. We all know our suffering. We all know what comes when we find inspiration to overcome that suffering. What often comes with suffering are these hidden fruits of the spirit, such as patience and responsibility, but also bravery and courage. And how can we cultivate these fruits? Well, today's adventure is brought to you by the letter B for balance. Balance is how we can cultivate these fruits of the spirit. Balance is important in maintaining health on all dimensions. We often hear phrases like everything in moderation, too much of anything is a bad thing. These phrases are kind of pointing to the balance that we should find on all dimensions, mental, physical, and emotional. And in exploring the topic of balance, we will first define homeostasis, talk about the fight or flight response, and then discuss how changes in our routine and lifestyle can help us find balance easier. Of course, we'll close with an angel card reading and have a little discussion and see what the angels have to say. So let's get started. But first, let's meditate. We'll take a deep breath in and exhale, really grounding and rooting in this moment. As we're tuning into our breath, breathing normally, we're just noticing how our chest rises and falls. Take a deep breath in and exhale, bringing us to this moment where we are finding balance. We are using our breath to activate our parasympathetic nervous system. This is our relaxation response. Breathing, calling attention to our breath, reminds us to slow down. Here and now, we will discuss balance as an essential part to staying healthy. And like I said before, parents and guardians might have had phrases, and you're welcome to post these phrases in the comments or maybe write them in a journal. Too much of anything is a bad thing, and these phrases are meant to teach us. We often also have representations of balance, such as yin and yang, or the justice scales, or an ecosystem. Any ecosystem tries to find balance, always. For instance, the definition of homeostasis in biology is the tendency of an organism or a cell to regulate its internal conditions, usually by a system of feedback controls, so as to stabilize health and functioning regardless of the outside changing conditions. Let's break that down for a second. So the tendency of an organism, we're an organism, humans are an organism, and a cell, we're made up of cells. So in essence, that's like saying, as above, so below. There is an equivalency there. The tendency of an organism to regulate its internal conditions. And with humans, that can mean our digestion, it can mean our blood, but it can also mean our mind, our thoughts. And usually by a system of feedback controls. So Freud says that we have defense mechanisms that help control our thoughts and reactions, that really help protect us against outside conditions. Our bodies also have a system of feedback controls, which we'll get to in a minute, so as to stabilize health and functioning regardless of outside changing conditions. So I think we all have a basic understanding of how homeostasis works, what it is, and now let me give you some examples. Homeostasis can also work in the human body with hormones and with the pH in our body. Some of us might be familiar with the term alkalizing our bodies, in which we eat maybe leafy greens in order to bring our body out of a state of acidity back into a state where it's alkalized. And in this alkalized state, our immune system is stronger, and we're able to fight off the outside conditions, which are obviously always changing, such as viruses, as the flu or the cold. When our body is alkalized, we're more able to handle the stress of a virus infecting our body because our immune system is tough. Stress, though, can harm our immune system. And when we're faced with stress, our body goes into a state of fight, flight, or freeze. This is a natural state. We evolved. It's how we learned to survive. So let me preface this by saying I'm going to go into a little bit of a lecture that was inspired by a PowerPoint. I work for Western Michigan University currently, and I'm a TA in the Holistic Health Department. So this is a PowerPoint from an actual class. So welcome to a mini college lecture about stress. Some of us might not be familiar with stress, but before we dive in, I should preface this by saying that stress is not necessarily a bad thing. And if we can view it as something that empowers us to rise to an occasion, we can actually use it for good. And we won't be harming our bodies in the process. Stress is often defined as something in the environment that makes you stress out, or a general state of the body, mind, and emotions when an environment stressor has triggered the stress response. Stress can be an event or series of events that leads to strain. So we're thinking about an iron beam that when it's bent, it has a certain amount of strain before it breaks, which often results in physical and psychological health problems. So our body is put under a lot of strain unless we understand how to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, for instance. Like I said, stress can be good. So it can often motivate us to accomplish tasks. It can often inspire us. We can find creative solutions to problems if we're under some sort of stress. It leads to feelings of accomplishment. When we have some good stress, we overcome that obstacle. So for instance, Shannon and CeeLo, the creators of Crystal Chalice Awards, they were put under an enormous amount of stress, but it was all good stress because they were finding creative solutions to the problems that cropped up. And they also had a feeling of accomplishment after the event was over. They created this beautiful ceremony. So stress can be good. It can lead to feelings of meaning and positive health. You can accomplish this. Also, during the stress response, like I said, it's totally biological. Oxytocin is released, which has often been referred to as the cuddle hormone. It makes you want to be around people. When a woman is pregnant, she releases more of this so that she feels connected to her baby. Men also secrete oxytocin. It's the chemical that makes you feel connected. Dopamine is released. It's the feeling of accomplishment. Dopamine is released in the reward center of the brain. So it's that good feeling that you get. So stress can be good. However, most of us are probably more familiar with distress, the negative effects of stress, such as depletion or feeling fragmented in your head, or maybe your health. It can affect your health. Or the distress that leads to helplessness and feelings of exhaustion when problems crop up and you really don't understand where they came from or know how to handle them, and you are left feeling helpless. And this can lead to physical symptoms and other psychological states if you don't have a coping mechanism to help you in those times. During distress, cortisol is released, and this is a really empowering hormone. It gets you ready to fight or ready to flee. And adrenaline, in the similar way, it gets your muscles ready. And then epinephrine is also released. Your nervous system gets activated during a stressful time. Stress, like I said, doesn't have to be bad. Really, it's just your body preparing itself to escape. The central nervous system is broken down into two parts, and then it has the peripheral nervous system. We're talking about the nervous system because this is what gets activated when you're in a stressful situation. So it's that activation you feel if you almost get in a car accident. Your heart starts racing and you feel tingles up and down. It's that moment or that state in a dream when you feel like you fall and you wake up because you feel like you fell. Your whole body gets activated in that moment. So what's getting activated? Your spinal cord, your brainstem, and your brain. All of these are being activated. We're going to be specifically referring to the spinal cord, and we're going to be looking at some parts of the brain. Also, with the autonomic nervous system, this is the peripheral nervous system, and it's your body's link to the outside world. It's kind of your senses, your touch, your taste, and then, your nerves and your muscles. And it's composed of two parts, the autonomic nervous system and the somatic nervous system. And the somatic nervous system is just your, the basic sensory organs to the central nervous system, and it relays commands such as motor movement, muscle control, and other voluntary movements like me reaching for my cup to take a drink of water right now. That's the somatic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is that system that we are not aware of. For instance, when we were doing the meditation, we were breathing, but normally we don't tune in. We don't turn our awareness into our breathing. And we breathe by ourselves. We don't tell ourselves to breathe. The same thing goes for digestion. You don't say, hey, stomach, I need you to digest that food. You don't tell your body to do these things. It just does. And that's the autonomic nervous system at work. Now, the autonomic nervous system is also comprised of two parts, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Go back to those examples I was talking about earlier, like waking up from a dream. That's your sympathetic nervous system being activated. It's your body's preparation for action. And this is called the fight or flight freeze. And we'll get more into that. So the parasympathetic nervous system is the relaxation response. It is what we were activating during our meditation. Not only were we consciously tuning into our breath, but that consciousness allowed us to calm down. Now, I have in my practice, I've been people who, when they tune into their breath, they get more anxious. And I'm not sure why that is. If you're one of these people, maybe you'd like to share your story. Because to some people, when they tune into their breath, it can cause anxiety. When really we're trying to activate the parasympathetic nervous system during meditation. And the parasympathetic nervous system represents the body at rest. That means we're breathing, where our heartbeat is slowing down. This state actually does stimulate digestion, because when we're in a stressed out state, when we're upset, or when our body is thrown into the fight or flight state, this is an emergency situation. Your pupils are dilated, your heart beats faster and stronger because it needs to get that blood to those muscles. It needs to get that blood to your brain. Your airways relax so that you can take in more oxygen, so your blood is oxygenated, and you're able to breathe more deeply so that you can have lots more oxygen in your lungs. And then your body inhibits digestion. because you don't need to digest right now. You need to get away. You need to get out of danger. However, in today's world, we're generally not being chased by a lion or a bear, and it's usually our boss yelling at us, or maybe our internal pressure we put on ourselves that causes us to go into a stressed out state. So maybe inhibiting our digestion isn't such a good idea. Maybe our pupils dilating isn't such a good idea. Maybe our heart beating faster isn't a good idea because we have a heart condition. This state also increases blood flow to your skeletal muscles, but it might take blood flow away from other important areas. Like I said, you could have heart problems, so this could put you into a serious state. That's why we want to activate the parasympathetic nervous system that gets us to calm down and gets our body back to a state of homeostasis, a state of equilibrium, a balanced state. So when the body perceives something as threatening, like it doesn't have to be a bear, it could be traffic. Your body prepares itself for an emergency by increasing the glucose, the blood sugar, oxygen, your heart rate, and it makes your muscles tense up. Oftentimes we might notice our jaw get tense, our fists get tense, maybe our stomach clenches. From here, the person is ready to fight danger. Of course, you're ready to fight. What are you about to fight? You're not going to fight a bear or a lion. You might fight your boss, but then again, HR. Watch out for that. So, talking about stress and talking about balance, we want to be able to activate our parasympathetic nervous system. We want to be able to calm ourselves down and consciously tune into the autonomic nervous system, because that's what gets thrown out of whack when we go into a stressed out state. And what is one way we can do this? Well, we can start with routine changes. Our body is affected by many different things. The amount of sleep we get can affect our stress levels. The amount of water we drink can affect our stress levels. The types of foods we eat can affect our stress levels. There's a book called Your Brain on Food by Gary Wenk. Gary Wenk. And it's about how chemicals control your thoughts and feelings. Some of the chemicals in our food are excitotoxins, and they can affect how we feel. It can throw our hormones out of balance. That's why it's important to eat whole foods, because we know what's in them. Our bodies know what's in them. Our bodies biologically might have been breaking them down for hundreds of years. So it's important to start with small changes, one step at a time, baby. So first, we can start off with morning routines, or thinking about what you do when you first wake up. Is it 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or is it 9 a.m.? What time do you wake up? What time in your circadian rhythm is your body more natural to? Are you more of a night owl, or are you more of a morning dove? Because I'm a morning person. So I get up at maybe about 7 in the morning, and the first thing I do in the morning is drink a glass of water. And I do this for several reasons. One, it's refreshing, and it helps wake me up. But two, my body has been working so hard all night to rest, relax, but also at the same time, it's working to restore my cells, to maybe process things in my liver. And also, your brain is going through, and some dream theory says that your brain is resetting itself and it's processing things. And so there are probably going to be byproducts that my body needs to get rid of. There are going to be some waste products that I need to dispense in the morning. So drinking a full glass of water, make sure I empty the tank and make sure it gets all the things out and I'm fresh and ready for the day. Also, some studies show that women get dehydrated faster than men, and a state of dehydration throws your body into a state of stress. It thinks it's in survival mode because it's not getting water. When you nourish your body with water, your body can relax. We're made up of like 72% of water. And it's highly important that we get that water to our cells. We use water in our brains for our thoughts. It helps the neurons transfer. Water is used in a lot of processes in mitochondria, and the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's what helps create energy. So water has many different uses in our body, and just by drinking water, we can reduce stress on our physical body. Now, the next thing some of you might do is reach for your phone in the morning. No. Give your brain some time to boot up and give yourself some time to tune in to your body. Say good morning to your muscles. I generally do just like a toe touch in the morning and then like a sun salutation. Nothing intense, nothing too crazy. Just a basic cat stretch. Yeah, get those muscles nice and good. And imagine again, this is a process. We're waking up and we're allowing our bodies to release the waste that we created overnight. And so imagine your muscles wringing themselves out like rags, twisting and letting all those toxins come out. And then you drink your water and it comes out. And you're healthier and you're fresh and new to start the day. Now, we're going to fuel our bodies with something, some sustenance. I don't really care what kind of protein you use in this instant, but what do you have for breakfast? What is your first meal of the day? And you don't have to eat right away. I'm suggesting maybe 30 minutes to an hour after you wake up, you're eating something. But what is it? What are you choosing to put into your body that your cells are then going to use as energy later? I'm hoping that it's something maybe small, but also nutritious. Some people can't handle a lot of things. I know that in the past, I've fluctuated from only really requiring tea and a biscuit to, oh my gosh, I need that full American breakfast of some bacon and some vegetables and a piece of toast and coffee. I know I've fluctuated. So maybe as well. I've been a college student, so I've definitely had pizza for breakfast. Lethargic later on in the day because my body was like, yeah, this is energy, but it wasn't the best energy you could have given us. I know that when I have had a smoothie in the morning made of fruit like bananas, maybe with an avocado with that healthy fat that your brain can use on the neuron myelin sheath to help your thoughts. You know, when you're filled with a smoothie that has all these cool energetic things in it, I'm getting really worked up. Okay. When you're filled with energy that is good for your cells, you're better able to handle the day. You're more prepared. Your body is more prepared. And maybe you feel more prepared, especially if you believe that it'll work for you. So I've been talking a lot, and I've been talking a little bit about homeostasis and just kind of bringing some science to the idea of balance and thinking about how we can bring balance into our lives. We can bring balance into our lives in ways that we eat food, in the ways that we get sleep, we give rest to our bodies. We can also bring balance to our thoughts. And here I'm going to say that I'm currently studying to be a counseling psychologist, and I specialize in cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's where we look at thoughts and how thoughts turn into actions, turn into behaviors, and vice versa. So when we're looking at our thoughts, how often do we talk negatively about ourselves? How often, when something goes wrong, do we chastise ourselves or say, gosh, I'm stupid? When really, we know we're smart. Instead, we bring balance to our thoughts, and we can cultivate realistic self-talk. And this realistic self-talk acknowledges what I did was stupid, and I am smart enough to overcome it. It acknowledges the event, the situation, maybe that trait we don't like about ourselves, and then comes at it with a more positive twist, bringing balance to that negative thought. There are many exercises in CBT that can be used. And if you're curious, if you would like to know more, I invite you to visit my Patreon page, patreon.com/breezyspreadlove. And on Patreon, you can view some of those healing packages in which we can have a session together, and we can definitely go over some of those tools to help transform our thoughts into more powerful tools that we can use to empower ourselves. Because when we fill ourselves up with positive thoughts, when we fill ourselves up to the point where we overflow with self-love and that love splashes out onto other people, we empower our community. The more we empower ourselves, the more we empower our community, the more we're able to go out into the community and be our best self. And it just takes that one person who is being their best self to change the world, because that one person runs into another person who runs into another person, and the good just keeps on going. And that's the power of bringing balance to our thoughts, to our actions, and to our own personal routines. So if you're wondering how you can cultivate balance in your life, maybe this talk is getting your creative juices flowing. Now you're thinking about what you do in the morning or what you do at night before you go to bed, and you're feeling all fired up. Now you want to make huge changes to your lifestyle, but you need some extra support. There might be people in your community who are willing to help you heal. I am also available to help you heal. You can try my online intuitive counseling through my Patreon. So please visit the website if you're interested. You can pick a healing package that works for you. You might be getting fired up over a nighttime routine. How many of us wish we had more sleep? I know I wish I had more sleep. But it's often what we do before bed that really counts, that really helps us ground our energy for the night, gets us ready to travel to the astral realms. And some of the steps involve turning off our technology a half an hour before we go to bed, or a half an hour before we're getting into bed. We're turning off the lights, we're turning off our cell phone, putting it on silent or vibrate or whatever to calm and soothe and create an environment that doesn't have a lot of EMF waves, doesn't have a lot of distractions. What does your nighttime space look like, your nighttime routine? Post in the comments below. I want to hear from you. So now we're going to switch gears and we're going to see what the angels have to say. I'm getting out my angel cards. I'm using the Archangel Oracle card deck and the Angel Dreams deck. And in order to call in the angels, we're going to do a little mini meditation. Exhale the breath that you're on and inhale deeply, filling up. Exhale. Good. Emptying our lungs. Really creating an open space. Releasing some energy and inhaling good positive vibration. And exhaling the bad. And settling into the space. Allowing your breathing to relax. And we're welcoming in the angels. Angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom God's love commits me here. Ever this day be at my side, to light, to guard, to rule, to guide. Thank you for allowing my readings to be accurate, detailed, and full of blessings for all those involved. Now, angels, what would you like the listeners to know about homeostasis? I'm using the Angel Dreams card, and I just accidentally dropped it and 3 cards remained in my hand. So let's see. We have the Moonstone card. There's an air of mystery. There's a wolf howling at the moon, a full moon. It's activating our intuition. There's the Unicorn card. Innocence, trust, honesty. A unicorn, pure, white, very regal, standing strong and tall. And dancing, self-expression and movement. A dancer, colorful, very strong and vibrant. So what do these cards have to do with homeostasis? Well, clearly on the Moonstone card, we have the wolf and the moon. These are very primal images. We're often activated by the full moon. I know I am. And wolves are very primal creatures. They're still very wild, even though they look like dogs. But this card is referring to mysteries. Sometimes our bodies are a mystery. Sometimes finding balance in life. You're like, how do I find balance? I don't know how I'm supposed to de-stress myself. Meditation is hard. There's a mystery. There's a mystery to life that we often have to use our intuition. We often have to go with our feelings in order to discern what is right for us, what feels right. So the angels are saying, use your intuition to figure out what works best for you in finding balance. Look at the routines that make you most productive. Have you ever thought about routines that make you most productive? So use your intuition at this time to help reveal some of those mysteries within yourself. Try to tune into those feelings, those primal feelings in your body. What is your body saying about how comfortable you are in your space? The unicorn is asking us to be honest with ourselves and to trust those feelings. So the angels are saying, hey, trust yourself, trust that gut feeling, trust your intuition, and be honest with yourself. This also is a vulnerable state. Being honest can put us in a state of vulnerability, which reminds us of our innocent self and how our innocence might have been lost, how our trust might have been betrayed, and how we learned that the world was truly unforgiving. It's hard to find balance in a world that is constantly changing and is constantly upsetting our mental selves and our physical selves with pollution and many other factors that play. So we're often reminded of how our innocence was lost, and it's hard to trust. It's hard to be honest with ourselves after experiences like that. But when we are honest, when we face our darkness and we acknowledge our misgivings and we forgive our past, we're able to move forward and we're able to find balance in our lives. We're able to be more productive. I know that this is true in counseling when clients are able to acknowledge, when they're able to put to words what they're feeling, they find balance. They find that healing that was really needed. And that's kind of what the dancing card is saying. That's what the angels are saying. Once you acknowledge this past, or once you acknowledge what threw you out of balance, you're able to move back into balance and express yourself. You're able to feel more like yourself and you're able to move. I know that in cases of severe depression, you feel like you can't move, you can't get out of bed, you don't know what you're doing with your life. And when you're able to find balance and when you're able to regain that state of homeostasis where you feel comfortable being yourself, you're able to move and go out and do things that humans are supposed to do, like frolic in fields and climb trees and gather food. you're able to be who you truly are, your authentic human self. You're able to be a high vibe human when you find balance. Wow. Thank you, angels, for chiming in, for really illuminating us and telling us, tune into our intuition. Our feelings are natural. The fight, flight, or freeze feeling is natural. It's our body preparing us to meet a challenge. And once we acknowledge that, I think our body relaxes into that stressed out state. Our heart's still pounding, our adrenaline is still going, but it turns from distress into eustress, into good stress, into stress that we know we can handle, into that high that causes us to take on life's challenges. But it's not easy because we have to be vulnerable. We have to be honest with ourselves. But once we move through that space, we find our true self and we're able to express it. Let's take that in. Let's sit with that. Now, what or who is tuning in today? I'm going to pull out my Archangel deck and we'll see which angel would like to contact us and directly tell us what they're thinking and how they want to chime in. Let's tune in. Ooh, Archangel Sandalphon. Gifts from God. We angels bring you gifts from your Creator. Open your arms to receive. I'm trying to think, was this the card from the last episode? This is the gift from God. Heaven is expansive and ever increasing. One of the ways in which heaven expands is through giving and sending love continuously. This love is sent your way in many forms, and your only task is to be willing to receive. Right now, the answers to your prayers await your willing receptivity. Open your arms to these gifts. Your Creator wills that you be happy, healthy, secure, and that all your needs will be provided. Release any fears of receiving me. Love is the key. Archangel Sandalphon really tries to deliver answers to our prayers. They usually say that every prayer is heard and that Sandalphon will come down. All prayers are of equal importance to this angel, and calling upon Sandalphon will help you in allowing yourself to receive. So maybe it's hard to find a state of balance. We all long for a state of balance. I know that I'm constantly trying to seek it, but then I'll do things to self-sabotage myself. So it can often be difficult to be receptive, to be open to finding balance. I know that there's a saying the Dalai Lama has that he told a reporter. The Dalai Lama told a reporter, when I'm busy, that's when I meditate twice as long, or something like that. Don't quote me. But the idea behind that phrase, the Dalai Lama said, is that, when I'm busy and I feel so rushed, I should take a moment in that moment to relax and to meditate and to come to center. Because when you're balanced, you're able to take on the whirling whirlwind of life. So finding balance, Archangel Sandalphon says, is about loving yourself and receiving the gift from God, receiving the gift of balance. I was talking about earlier, when we find balance, we often have to overcome stressful situations, and this produces fruits of the spirit, such as courage and bravery and responsibility. And these are the gifts from God. These are the gifts from the universe. These are the muscles that you're flexing when you're faced with a moment of suffering. That is when you're practicing your patience, you're practicing your responsibility, you're practicing even just processing the event that happened to you, because I know that some events are just so traumatic that you can't even process it in that moment. It's the ability to understand that you can't process something. Time to yourself to process it instead of tabling it and then allowing it to become this volcano inside of you waiting to explode. So suffering is balanced out by the fruits that you learn, such as forgiveness. When we fall out of balance, we have to forgive ourselves and receptive to entering back into a state of balance. So let's take that in. Thank you, Archangel Sendalphon. And that's where I'd like to end today's segment. We're talking about finding balance and finding our homeostasis and how we can create that through our routines. We talked about stress, and the angels told us that once we move through that stress, we're able to find our self-expression, and we are given gifts from God through those experiences. I want to thank Bring Me to Life for holding down these high vibes and allowing this resonance to go out further. And if you would like to tune in to more Breezy Spread Love, you can go to my YouTube channel, or you can visit patreon.com/breezyspreadlove. The world often seems out of balance, but there are things that each of us can do to help us maintain our balance. So remember to give yourself some love and to spread love and subscribe. So until next time, high vibe humans, stay healthy, stay light, and don't give up the fight. Breezy?